In this administration, you had argued pretty vociferously that it was best to engage and better to be in the room than not be in the room. Then when the president decided to pull out of Paris, you said that was kind of the last straw and you were going to drop off. Mm-hmm. What drove you to that? And if you were still speaking to him today, what would you say to the president?
Well, I thought it was worth trying hard to, to do what's worth. It was worth trying. I got a lot of flack from multiple fronts for even trying. When some guy ran at billboards and attacking me and full-page ads in the New York Times and whatnot, just for being on the panel, and in every meeting I was just trying to make the arguments in favor of sustainability and sometimes other issues we need to make sure that our immigration laws are not unkind or unreasonable, did my best, and I think in a few cases I did actually make some progress, which gave me some encouragement to continue. But then I just really think that the Paris Accord, man, if I stayed on the councils, then I'd be essentially saying that wasn't important, but it was super important, because I think a country needs to keep its word. It's not even a binding agreement. So we could always slow it down. The argument that there would be job losses, well, we could see if there are job losses before we exit the agreement. And maybe there won't be job losses, maybe there'll be job gains. But yeah, there's just no way I could stay on after that. So, did my best. All right.
That,
yeah.
This election, you are from...
Oh, no.
No. Yes. How does that strike you, what's happening now? You've come to this country, you're a naturalized citizen?
I think I'm glad that the framers of the Constitution saw fit to ensure that the president was someone who was captain of a large ship with a small rudder.
Okay. And?
There's a limit to how much harm any given president.
Are you sure about that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you're not worried about, are you backing in either of the candidates at this point?
Trying to stay out of this situation.
Because?
I don't think that's the finest moment in our democracy.
Well, given that it's not the finest moment in our democracy, do you think the best thing is to stay out? Or
we'll see.
To get in?
I'm not sure what I could do to
head off the worst.
I'm not sure how much influence I could have as one person on the outcome. If I think I could make a difference, I would probably do something. Like I said, I think I'm just glad that being the U.S. president is like being captain of a large ship with a small rudder. Mm-hmm. And so there's just a limit to how much good or bad a president can actually do. Obviously, if a president could make the economy great, and there was a button they could press, they'd be pressing that button at the speed of light. Mm-hmm. They can't. They can't just magically make the economy good. No president wants the economy bad ever. But there's just a limit to how much they can do. I guess there is the nuclear thing, which is...
Yeah, the nuclear thing. I guess there is the nuclear thing.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think we would just arbitrarily launch nuclear missils.
Yeah. One would hope.
The president can do that.
I don't think so.
President's
arbitrarily.
the commander-in-chief.
I think that...
He's the commander-in-chief.
Yeah, no, but I still don't think that means you can just launch nuclear missiles whenever you want.
Yeah.
I think Congress would be quite upset about that, and...
they might not be consulted.
Yeah, but I think the military would be yeah, we really think Congress should be consulted on it before you launch a...
Yeah.
That might happen.
Preemptive nuclear strike.
Are you willing... you're basing your faith in that, though?
I'm quite confident that the military would not just, randomly agree to launching nuclear missiles at somebody.
Well, that's calming.
This is very comforting,
we're going to put up just very quickly.
You know,
So you're banging your head against a wall here a little bit.
it's not easy to get
Yeah.
these regulations changed.
So talking of government, President Obama is obviously trying to do what he can. If you had 5 minutes with President Obama, what would you advise him for, one, stimulating the economy and entrepreneurship and creating jobs? Is there one thing that if he could successfully get through that would be a big stimulus, do you think?
Well, I think actually, I think the reality of being president is that you're actually like the captain of a very huge ship and have a small rudder. Because obviously, if there was a button that a president could push that said economic prosperity, you'd be like, they're hitting that button real fast.
Full steam ahead,
You
yeah.
can measure the speed of light by how fast they press that button, because that's called the re-election button. So I'm not sure how much the president can really do, but I think you know, I'm generally a fan of like minimal government interference in the economy. Like the government should be kind of like the referee, but not the player. And there shouldn't be too many referees.
Right.
There is an exception, which is when there's an unpriced externality, such as the CO2 capacity of the oceans and atmosphere. So
Right.
when you have an unpriced externality, then the normal market mechanisms do not work, and then it's government's role to intervene in a way that's sensible. And the best way to intervene is to assign a proper price to whatever the common good is that's being consumed. So
you're saying there should be a tax on gas?
there should be a tax on carbon. You know,
Right.
if the bad thing is carbon accumulation in the atmosphere, then there needs to be a tax on that, and then we can that will and then you can get rid of all subsidies and everything else. And it seems like logical that you should tax things that are most likely to be bad, rather than, you know, like that's why we tax cigarettes and alcohol, because those are probably bad for you. Certainly cigarettes are. And so you want to err on the side of taxing things that are probably bad, and not tax things that are good. And so I think, given that there is a need to gather tax for the, to pay for the federal government, we should shift the tax burden to bad things, and then adjust that tax of that bad thing according to whatever is going to result in the behavior that we think is beneficial for the future. I mean, I think currently what we're doing right now, which is mining and burning trillions of tons of hydrocarbons that used to be buried very deep underground, and now we're sticking them in the atmosphere and running this crazy chemical experiment on the atmosphere. And then you've got the oil and gas companies, which have ungodly amounts of money. And you can't expect them to just roll over and die. Like, they don't do that. Actually, what they much prefer to do is spend enormous amounts of money lobbying and running bogus ad campaigns and that kind of thing to preserve their situation. It's a lot like tobacco companies in the old days. I mean, they used to run these ads with doctors, like a guy with a doctor, pretending he's a doctor, essentially implying that smoking is good for you,
Right.
and like having pregnant mothers on ads smoking.
Do you have a message for the climate change skeptics and the big oil people?
Well, as far as climate change skeptic, I believe in the scientific method, and one should have a healthy skepticism of things in general. And if you approach things from a scientific standpoint, you always look at things probabilistically, not definitively. And so I think a lot of times, if somebody's a skeptic in the science community, what they're really saying is that they're not sure that it's 100% certain that this is the case. But that's not the point. The point is to look at it from the other side. See, what do you think the percentage chance is of this being catastrophic for some meaningful percentage of the Earth's population? Is it greater than 1%? Is it even 1%? If it is even 1%, why are we running this experiment?
Right, you called it a Russian roulette. We're playing Russian roulette with the atmosphere.
We're playing Russian roulette, and as each year goes by, we're loading more rounds in the chamber. it's not wise. So that's, and what makes it super insane is that we're going to run out of oil anyway. Like, it's not like there's some infinite oil supply. We're going to run out of it. So we know we have to get to a sustainable means of transportation no matter what. So why even run the experiment?
Right.
It's the world's dumbest experiment.
Right. Yeah.
Thinking about life on Mars again, how do you think about cultural unification, systems of government, rules of law, establishing those very early on?
Well, I think I was just declared king of Mars a moment ago.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah, thank
Run.
you. Thank you. Thank you. So I think most likely the form of government on Mars would be a direct democracy, not representative. So it would be people voting directly on issues. And I think that's probably better because like the potential for corruption is substantially diminished in a direct versus a representative democracy. So I think that's probably what will occur. I think there's some. I would recommend like some adjustment for the inertia of laws would be wise in that it should probably be easier to remove a law than create one. I think this is. I would just be like. Let's just. I mean, I think that's probably good because just laws have infinite life unless they're taken away. So I think my recommendation would be like something like, let's say 60% of people need to vote in a law, but at any point greater than 40% of people can remove it. And any law should come with a built-in sunset provision. If it's not good enough to be voted back in, maybe it shouldn't be there.
So that's the framework for the government on Mars.
I mean, those would be my recommendations. The direct democracy where it's slightly harder to put laws in place than to take them away, and where laws don't just automatically live forever.
You'll be a good king. Thank you, Elon Musk. Thank you.